Hey y'all, my name is Kayla and welcome to my cozy chaotic corner of the internet. It is morning time for me. I literally woke up, took the girls out, fed them, washed my face, and made my coffee. And now we're here. If my face is also still a little red, I literally just washed it, so it'll calm down in a second. It is this month's read-a-thon. And if you are new here, we do read-a-thons from Friday to Sunday. And I have a stack of books that I don't need to finish the stack of books. This is just kind of like the stack of books that I'm gonna pull books from throughout this time frame. And I will note Fridays, I do work from 9 to 5. With that noted, let's crack into the stack of books that I currently have set aside. Starting off, we have Sunbringer, the second book of the Fallen Gods trilogy. We all know from last read-a-thon that Kayla is obsessed with Godkiller. That was book 1 of this trilogy. I just don't want to be let down by Sunbringer. I haven't started yet, but I don't want to be let down. I just and I already have a sense I'm gonna be let down because I know who the first chapter starts with, and I really, at this point in time, don't care for that first person's point of view. So we'll see how this one goes. Next, we have Ragnarok by A.S. Byatt. I actually purchased this book, honestly, probably 10 years ago at this point, and I have never read it. This was kind of one of those books that I was like, ooh, Ragnarok, cool. And I just bought it based off of the title of the book and the cover of the book. So when I went to go read the synopsis real quick, I had no idea that this book was about a young girl who is living in Britain during the air raids of World War II. And she is given a book full of Norse mythology, and she starts to see the parallels between what happens in Norse mythology as well as kind of what's going on in her present day war-torn Europe. So really interesting actually, and it is a smaller book, larger print. So I tried to pick a few books for the read-a-thon that were a little smaller in size, and that I thought I could probably get through maybe 2 of them in one day, but we'll see. Speaking of smaller books, I have What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This is a retelling of The Fall of House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. Next, we have The Last Ranger by Peter Heller. I am not gonna lie, this was an impulse buy, mostly just based on the cover. But this is about a park ranger who is just dealing with his daily tasks at a national park. This is gonna be a good one, I can already tell. Then we have My Dark Romeo by Parker S. Huntington and L.J. Shen. This is pretty much the story or retelling of Romeo and Juliet, but in modern days. Instead of Juliet dying, Romeo sees his unforeseeable end. And then finally, we have If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is actually a book I started last summer in 2023, and I just was never able to finish it time because I originally not purchased it, but checked it out from the library, and I just never actually finished it before I had to return it, but it obviously stuck with me because I ended up buying it. So I'm excited to delve into this one. So that's kind of my little stack right here. After actually going through it, it's not that little, but there are, again, kind of shorter, I'm assuming easier reads that will hopefully make things easier. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys be. I'm gonna start doing the rest of my normal morning things and then get to work, and I will catch up with y'all later on in the day.
He built up the fire in the stove, and then he shrugged into his slicker and pushed out into the downpour and took care of it.
Okay guys, so I am about 2.5 hours into my workday, almost 3 hours into my workday. and I have been listening to The Last Ranger on audiobook, and here are a few like notes that I have in regards to audiobooks in particular, not in regards to The Last Ranger. In regards to audiobooks, I struggle with audiobooks because for me, I have to have a visual component when it comes to intaking information. So like I'm really good with faces, but I'm not that great with names. So when I'm hearing in an audiobook all these names being thrown around, they just don't stick with me as well as they do when I'm like physically reading them in the book. So I don't know. I always want to give audiobooks a chance because they are a valid form of taking in information. And I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts all the time. But I will say, like, I don't necessarily always like absorb as much information via podcast as I would through like a documentary or something like that, which is why I love YouTube so much, because you're getting the visual with the verbal and audio element. I'm taking in information and it's a good book thus far, but again, there's just like a few there's like, I don't even know how many characters at this point, but there's one main character, Ren, and we're seeing everything from his point of view as of right now. And then there's another character, Hilly, and then there's a character, Lenny, and I think Lenny's like the bad guy or like pseudo bad guy or like the decoy bad guy, I'm gonna say right now. Just, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what's happening. But then there's like a few other people that have been mentioned where I'm like, wait a second, is that person Hilly or am I getting Hilly mixed up with someone else? But this is how far I've gotten thus far in the book. Okay, that's all. Back to work. Okay, y'all. First and foremost, I apologize for the background ambient noise. I'm doing a load of dishes, so that is what you are hearing there. I have not read or listened to any further on The Last Park Ranger since we last checked in, but I'm just like hitting a point in the day. It's like 12:30. What time is it? 12:30? But yeah, it's past 12 and I am getting like hungry. So I did put a pork shoulder roast that I got from Aldi in the oven, but that's gonna be like 3 hours till it's done. So I'm thinking I'm gonna make like a grilled cheese sandwich. So I have shredded cheese. Anywho, do you guys want to see me make a grilled cheese sandwich? Okay, I'm about to head back to work, but when I flipped over the grilled cheese, half of like the cheese fell out, but now I have these like nice little crusty cheesy bits. I will start listening again to The Last Ranger. So YOLO. It is same day. I just changed my shirt because I had gotten barbecue sauce on my sweatshirt. So same day, done with work. I am just shy of halfway through The Last Ranger, and up until this point it's all been on audiobook, obviously, because I've been working. I don't know if how I feel about this book is because I'm listening to it on audiobook and not actually reading it, and some of the vocal acting choices the narrator is making pulls me out of the book. Like, it's a male narrator, and for the most part it's like great, fine, but then I hate when male narrators do like female voices, and so it's like I kind of just tune out during those points. And then there's like a really sweet, sincere part where our main character is like kind of like whispering / consoling someone, and the way the narrator chose to do that, I'm sure if I was reading this part I'd probably be crying, but because of how he was reading it I just could not stand it. So far it's like a book, you know, and again, I don't know if that's because I've been listening to it, or if it's just the book in general, but it's just a book. Like, it's interesting, it's fun, but it's not anything to write home to, if that makes any sort of sense. But it's not so painstakingly dreadful that I want to stop reading it. Figured I'd give you guys a little update, and if you've heard anything crazy in the background, my partner is watching Saving Private Ryan right now, and it's like literally the beginning part. They're like storming the shore of Normandy, the beaches of Normandy. I'm pretty sure that's what that scene is. It looks, they're storming something. Anyhow, back to reading this. Okay, y'all. I did not get much further in this book. I probably read 40 pages, and I just don't know. I don't know. Like, it has good moments, but then I feel like there's lull in between those moments. But the thing is, like, the moments happen pretty, like, consistently. Like, the author almost knows that it's like, okay, this is getting kind of dull. Boop. Boop. So you're just kind of like, oh my God. Maybe that's just my experience. But I think I'm just gonna set this one down for the night. I actually kind of set this down a while ago and then like went to go play with the girls. And I think I am going to start What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I think that's gonna be next just because it's a quick one. And y'all, I'm not gonna lie, I'm like kind of putting off reading Sunbringer because I just like, I don't know, like God Killer was so good that I feel like my expectations for Sunbringer are just too high right now, that I'm just like, I mean, I could just end with the God Killer cliffhanger and not read Sunbringer, right? Like, we could just do that, right? No, I'll read it, but I think I am going to start What Moves the Dead tonight, potentially even finish it. It is a smaller book, so we'll see. Last night, I started What Moves the Dead, and I got, I think, 2 to 3 chapters in before I was just like, okay, I'm falling asleep. Not in the sense that it was like a boring book, but in the sense that I was just like exhausted from the day. I don't know how I feel about this book.
Figured it out. I'm a genius.
Well, what'd you do, Mr. Genius? Yeah.
Did you want a sandwich?
I am currently reading What Moves the Dead. I did finish The Last Ranger, and it was a book. It was a book. It had a story. I felt like there was never any real climax. There were just like events that were occurring, and each event kind of like felt like it was a climax, but it wasn't. And so the book just kind of ended, and you were just kind of like going through the story. I did rate it a 3 on Goodreads, but I almost want to give it a 2 just because it's just like, I wouldn't recommend that book to anyone, you know? Like, a 3 is like, you know, it wasn't my cup of tea, but like it might be someone else's cup of tea, I feel like. But a 2 is like, it was a book. You know, I didn't hate it, I didn't love it, I'm not gonna recommend it to anyone. it's just a book. On to this. I have mixed feelings about this so far. I feel like there's a lot of passages that are just like almost overly explaining and gets almost too into the details about stuff I don't care about. But then there's other things that they just kind of like skim over, and I'm just like, no, I want to know about that thing you skimmed over. But I don't have like real big complaints about this yet, and it's starting to like get a little interesting. Starting to pick up some speed, and we're about 30% through the book. I'm gonna keep cracking away at this. I have had one of my favorite gamers playing in the background. He's streaming right now, so that's just playing in the background. And I have been online shopping for a book chair. A book chair? A reading chair. I keep wanting to get a reading chair. I don't know. But I'm gonna get back to this. So, see you guys in a bit.
The good Lord may look out for fools, but it won't hurt to have another set of eyes helping. When I sold out my commission, he came with me. His beard and mustaches had gone entirely gray, and he could predict the weather with pinpoint accuracy based on various aches and pains. But I would have put him up against any younger soldier I know, myself included.
I'm gonna talk about it. It's popping. Y'all, I don't buy pop often, but when I do, I love a good lemon lime pop. I also got these new nacho Takis because I'm like the biggest baby when it comes to spices. Not very spicy. Echo, these are not for you. These are mine. No begging. You're looking like a bad girl. And I'm not gonna lie, like they're all right, but I kind of wish they had some kick to them. I found these at Target today. These tahini peach rings, so yummy. They had so many different flavors too. They had like a mango one, a watermelon one. I was debating between the peach and mango, and for some reason I just went with peach. I bet mango would have been amazing. Those mango suckers growing up, if you grew up in like the 90s / early 2000s, you know those mango suckers. So good. I have that much left. And we just got to a pretty like... The last 2 chapters, y'all, have been... What? What? I thought something was going to go a certain way. We'll see. We shall see what happens. We have 5 more chapters left. And there's a book 2. I don't know if it's the exact same storyline. Maybe it's not the same. For more sworn soldier adventures, and our main character, Alex Easton, is a sworn soldier. So I don't know if it's just more of Alex's story or if it's like another sworn soldier story. But this book so far, amazing. I feel like I've gotten more out of this short little novella than I got out of The Last Ranger, which is wild. There was only honestly one section towards the beginning of the book that was really like that. I'm like, we're literally gonna spend like 5 pages talking about this one subject matter. Also, like, not to give any spoilers or anything, but I'm very concerned about how this book is gonna end just because of the cover of the second book. But it just has me very concerned. I'm gonna continue reading, and I should have this finished by the end of tonight. Okay, y'all, it is Sunday. Have I read anything yet? No, but I did rearrange my bookshelves. This rearrangement was in alphabetical order by last name of author. There are some sections that I kept just because I really like the way they look. It's not like 100% perfectly alphabetical by author. I'm also the type of person that, I know this may be a controversial topic to some, but I really love how hodgepodge my shelves look. Like, I don't need them to be color coordinated. I don't need all of the books to be like the same height. I actually love when like books have levels to them. I will say though, one thing I can hop on board with people who love their like perfectly neat, tidy shelves, I love a matching set. So if there's a series, I want the series to all be exactly the same, look the same, be the same height. So that I can hop on board with. That's my little update on my bookshelf. Update on the books that we have read so far. So we have completed The Last Ranger. I did give an update about this after reading it. Again, I rated it 3 on Goodreads. I'm gonna update that honestly to a 2, just because like a 3 would be like, it was a good book, I enjoyed it, but I'll probably never pick it up again. However, I might recommend it to people who I think this book would be good for. A 2 means that the book was a book. It was all right. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was just a work of writing. So that is why I'm giving this a 2-star, because it was just like, I don't know, there was just like so many little storylines that were all like intertwined together, so that part made sense. But again, like I said the other day, I feel like there was no actual climax to the story. There were just kind of like little peaks, but never really any valleys for the peak to kind of like be an actual climactic moment. And then the way it ended, I was just like, that's it? That's how we're ending the book? And then also the way it was written was very much in a way of how people talk, which the way people talk makes sense if you're actually like listening to it, but reading that style of writing, at least for me, is just very difficult. So The Last Ranger, 2 stars. It was a book. Someone might like it out there. It has a fairly decent rating on Goodreads, but for me personally, it just didn't hit the mark. On a very different note, What Moves the Dead, 4 stars, absolutely amazing. 4 stars for me is like most people's 5 stars. There are some notes I have on it, like there was a section about the different pronouns that are utilized in this made-up world. This thing is like, this was like made up but also not made up. Unless Galatia is a real place. I don't think Galatia is a real place. Correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't do any fact checking on that. But there's a place in this story called Galatia, but then they're also in like England, you know. So, but we spent like, it felt like forever, probably total 3 pages on pronouns that are utilized in Galatia and how they're all differently utilized. But I just don't need like a whole storyline on pronouns. Just be like, yeah, we use these pronouns for this group of people, these pronouns for that group of people, these pronouns for this group. Like, just be like, da 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 da, done. You could have at most spent a page on this, but 3 pages in a book this short felt like an eternity. That's I think one of my biggest qualms. Don't care that you're explaining pronouns. I just wish it would have been like a shorter duration of time spent explaining the pronouns. Other than that, this book was so good. I would say like the last, especially like this whole last chunk. Yeah, yep, this whole last chunk, absolutely loved it. Oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. I was just like, what's happening next? What's happening next? Really great book. I definitely recommend it. I can't wait to read the next book. I think just because, again, I do like matching sets, but I also love paperbacks. I know for sure the second book for this is out in hardcover. did see it as a paperback on Amazon, but it was like $23 on Amazon, and that just feels a little wrong to spend like $23 on a paperback that's this thick. And I know it's this thick because the hardcover was about the same size as the paperback at Barnes & Noble. So I'll probably just wait it until I see it in a bookstore in paperback and get it. Okay, and then last night I started Ragnarok. And I got this far in, which is I think like 13 pages. Yep, 13 pages exactly. And I don't know if this is going to be a book I keep reading. In a theory, I like the concept of the book, but in execution, I am not the biggest fan of the writing style. So this book is about a girl who is living in World War II Britain. She is like given this book about Norse mythology. And in theory, that's really great, but in how it started, it's like we don't really get any backstory on the girl. It's just straight away into like talking about the Norse mythology, and then the way the girl is spoken about, it's here, let me just read. It's literally the very first line in the book. There was a thin child who was 3 years old when the World War began. And she is referenced as the thin child, at least through all 12 of the first pages. And I don't know if we're ever going to be referring to her as anything other than the thin child. I am not seeing any dialogue in this book whatsoever. It's just very more just explanative. Oh my god, I can't talk. Yeah. I might give this like a couple more chapters, but this might be just a set down because it's just not like holding my interest at all, which is so sad because I've literally owned this book for 10 years. And the one time I finally pick it up, I realized I was like, I could have gotten rid of this probably 10 years ago. So with that noted, I do want to start another book today because I'm almost positive I'm not going to finish Ragnarok, but we got Sunbringer and we have My Dark Romeo. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I kind of want to start My Dark Romeo first. God Killer was just so good that I was like so excited to start Sunbringer, but I think I'm like overanalyzing it in my head too much, and I don't want to start Sunbringer. I'm just like, no, I can't read it yet. Can't start it. And I also feel better about the fact that like, oh, I can't start it because now I know that it's a trilogy. Like, it's okay if I kind of put it off because this book literally just came out. So it's gonna be a while until the third book comes out, right? So it's like, I don't have to read this right away. I can just wait a little bit, like put it off for a couple months. Maybe reread God Killer and then read this. I don't know. With all of that noted, I might see you guys a little later on, depending if I actually read something. If not, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, and I will see y'all in the next bookish video.